Alrighty, happy Monday, everyone. I'm meteorologist Anthony Carpino. We're going to give you guys an update on what we can expect with this winter weather for Tuesday. It's gone through some changes over the last 24 hours, so I want to bring you guys the very latest information. We've been keeping an eye on this over the weekend, last weekend. It is on our doorstep and will be arriving as we head through the day tomorrow. So let's jump into it. What we can expect right now, we do have a winter weather advisory issued for northern sections of Litchfield County. This is going to officially go into effect for tomorrow morning and then last through portions of the day. We'll have to see if it gets included for the southern half of Litchfield County, but right now, just for the northern half, that's the only part of Connecticut that is under a winter alert. You can look further to our north, though, for places up in Massachusetts where they actually have a winter storm warning that will go into effect with the addition of a winter weather advisory. They actually could get a good bit of accumulating snow as we head through the day tomorrow. For us, it has been trending just a little bit warmer, so it's looking a little less likely for Connecticut shoreline, of course, but also for inland sections of the state to get a good substantial amount of snowfall. So let's talk about the timing a little bit. We will have the potential for some of those rain or snow showers to start Tuesday morning. However, I think the Tuesday morning commute should be okay. I think we'll be in good shape there. By the afternoon, that's where we're expecting the heaviest of that precipitation, whether that's rain or snow. Then by the time we get to the evening commute, things could still be, well, definitely wet for some spots of the state, but others could be a little slick and definitely a little slushy at times there. And I think the greatest impacts will come for areas in northwestern Connecticut, especially north and west of I-84. So let's take a look at the satellite and radar right now. That's where our system currently is, parked between St. Louis and going down to the Gulf Shore. So all of that is going to be moving in our direction as we head through tonight and then, of course, for tomorrow morning. What we are expecting as we head through the day tomorrow is a relatively drier start between about 4 and 8 a.m. And then things will start to increase there a little bit more. But right now, mainly sunny. A few clouds are already on our doorstep, and we'll notice more and more cloud cover as we head through tonight. So here's a look at future satellite and radar. You can see those temperatures tonight falling back to the mid to upper 20s and lower 30s. And then it continues to stay the coolest temperatures likely around midnight. Now, after midnight, we start to warm up. So take a look at this. By 8 o'clock, as you're heading out the door, the kids are going off to school, our temperatures, especially along the shoreline, are already warming well above freezing. So we're already at about 36 in New Haven, 46 in Groton, and we could be hovering right around that freezing point for the Hartford area. Even if we're a couple of degrees cooler, most of that moisture hasn't arrived yet. Now, as we get closer to about midday, you can definitely see how much this fills in and how much of the state is covered in mainly just plain old rainfall there. So with temperatures in the mid upper 30s, even look at Groton and Stonington, they're about 48 degrees, definitely too warm there for snow. But what we're really going to keep an eye on is how much of this is just totally rain or what we can decipher would end up being some mixed precipitation to go along with it. Because if you see, there are places like Meriden here, closer to 32 degrees. You, of course, have the Hartford area into the lower 30s. Windsor Locks there, closer to about 32 as well. And then you get into northwestern Connecticut for places like Colebrook, Torrington, also sticking to those temperatures hovering right around freezing. So for places that end up staying snow a little bit longer, it could definitely be that more heavy and wet snow. And then we'll likely end up seeing things start to change a little bit by the afternoon. So this particular model really wants to pull in some warmer air, especially for the shoreline. Groton closer to 50. Meanwhile, Colebrook is still hovering right around freezing. So likely seeing that changeover for most locations around the state as we head through tomorrow afternoon. As the system wraps up tomorrow night, maybe a few more isolated snow showers on the backside as we start to cool our way back down. So the chance of seeing snow totals more than 4 inches has definitely gone down. If you were looking at this map earlier, this had about a 70% chance for even northwestern Connecticut. And then now that 5-10% chance is all the way through central parts of the state. So expecting rain for the shoreline for sure, that mixed precipitation for central and even portions of northern Connecticut, and then the northwestern hills, that greatest potential for some snowfall there. by the time this is all said and done, about 1 to 3 inches of snow, essentially along and north of I-84 there, especially in those higher terrain areas. And then you get into northwestern Connecticut. That's where we can end up finding snow totals just a little bit higher there. So closer to about 3 to possibly up to about 6 inches. 6 inches might be tough. I think there's a better chance of that, though, for central and western areas of Massachusetts. So if you're a fan of the higher snow totals, they are just to our north, where it looks like we're just going to be just a little bit too warm, unfortunately, if you're a fan of the snow. Right now, though, we're talking about a good bit of sunshine out there, and we'll just notice the clouds start to develop as we head through portions of tonight, and then we'll have to deal with that rain mix and a little bit of snow as we go through the day tomorrow. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I already see a few questions on the side here. I'd love to answer some of those for you guys. Melissa has a question asking, is the mix going to have freezing rain? I wanted snow. Yeah, I wanted snow with you too, Melissa. So I think what we'll end up seeing is a sharp gradient between who ends up seeing all of that snow and who's just plain rain. I don't think it's going to be one of those situations where we have a lot of icing or anything like that. It's going to be who's warm enough for just rain and who's just a little bit cold enough for snow. So I don't think we're going to have to worry all that much about freezing rain. However, with the rain that does fall, it will keep the ground wet as we move through tomorrow night. And then our temperatures are expected to drop again. So any roads or surfaces that aren't treated have that potential to ice back up as we head through tomorrow night into early Wednesday morning. I don't think that'll be necessarily a widespread problem, but definitely those spots that like to cool down a lot at night will have that greatest chance of some slippery conditions during Tuesday night and into portions of Wednesday. So it's a good question there. So a lot about the rain, the snow totals, but what about rain totals? Eastern Connecticut, Hebron area. Kelly, yeah, thanks for that question. So that's a good question there. Let me actually see if I can pull up one of those maps for you guys to talk about some of the rain. So that's a good point there too, especially for spots that can stay a little bit colder. Of course, we talk about that rain snow ratio. So bear with me just a second. Let me see if I can find one of those graphics for you guys. And then let me know if you guys have any other questions. I have all the streams pulled up in front of me here. So if you guys are on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, feel free to ask a question. I can see all that in front of me there. Juliana, I'll get to your question in just a second about the snow chance for Bristol. Let me just pull out the rain total because that is a really good question there too. Just 1 second, guys. Sorry, I should have had that one pulled up, and it is not in my rundown just yet. So let me see. In general, with the rain totals, it wouldn't be all that much, more than likely less than an inch. But if we want to try to show some specific, I think this one should do it here for us. So let's play this through. Let's just take a second for it to load here. All right, so as I play this out for us, yeah, so it takes a second to load here. So roughly about half an inch. I think an inch might be a little bit too much there, maybe for southeastern areas of the state. But if you're talking about Hebron, I'd say anywhere from about half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of rainfall there. And then, of course, a little bit less if you get into northwestern Connecticut. So this is just looking at kind of your precipitation in total. If you're talking about eastern Connecticut there, I think that would end up, I think all of this is a little bit overdone with the exception there of the shoreline, not ruling out maybe closer to an inch or a little bit more in southeastern Connecticut if we're talking just about rainfall there. So good question there. So Michael has a good question here. So this looks elevation dependent. Anything above 800 feet should be all snow, question mark. So good question too. The elevation is definitely going to be a part of it. Those temperatures are going to be very important as we go through tonight. We will cool back down, but how quickly will we warm up? And if you're in one of those spots that can just hang on to those cooler temperatures for a little bit longer, then you might end up seeing more in the way of some snowflakes there, but likely end up seeing everything transition over to at least a mixed precipitation maybe just plain old rainfall, depending on where you are, with that exception of far northwestern areas of the state there. So keep that in mind. Let's see, any other questions here? Okay, so I have Juliana's question here about snow chances for Bristol. Not looking like all that much. Let me show you guys the snowfall forecast one more time. We're going to have another live update coming up on the news at 4 o'clock. Steve Glacier's in for Ryan tonight. So him and I are going to be talking about this winter storm again. So here's a look at the map there, about 1 to 3 inches for sections essentially along and north of 84. So as far as Bristol goes, kind of right on that line there. I wouldn't expect all that much tonight, to be honest with you, Juliana, for Bristol. I don't think you're going to wake up. So you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. There's going to be nothing on the ground. It's going to be as we go through the latter half of the day. Do we see much really stick? And I don't think you'll see all that much in the Bristol area. Probably just that slushy mix for sure by the end of the day. It's really that rain that can really wash a lot of this out of here. So focusing in on northwestern Connecticut there, so places like Norfolk, getting closer, Barkhamsted, Salisbury, that part of the state having the greatest chance for that snow to kind of last a little bit longer there. So great questions, guys. I actually have to get going. We're going to be going live from Newington today, and Steve is going to have an update in the studio. So we're going to have team coverage starting on the news at 4 o'clock on NBC Connecticut. If you guys have more questions, I'll go back to this feed and try to answer those questions a little bit later. But thanks so much for watching, everyone. Again, we'll have more live updates coming up on the news at 4 o'clock. Have a great day, everyone. Of course, if you have any snow and you're able to take some pictures when this comes in, send it to us. We'd love to show your photos, your video, all of that kind of stuff on our social media platforms, as well as on TV. Thanks so much, guys. See you later.